Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Love Me, Don't Leave Me, Overcoming Fear of Abandonment and Building Lasting, Loving Relationships by Michelle Skeen, PsyD. Narrated by Karyn O'Brien. Foreword. I have found over the years that some of the most profoundly upsetting moments emerging in the treatment room are related to a client who is in the throes of a real or anticipated loss of his or her significant other, the romantic partner. The intensely painful emotional distress linked to such a meaningful rupture can produce, for some, unbearable feelings of abandonment, betrayal, manipulation, and emotional deprivation. The feelings can shift, at times, into problematic and self-defeating coping behaviors, such as unremitting self-blame, intractable subjugation of the client's needs and rights, rigid avoidance, hypervigilant clinging to the partner, tireless suspicions, ruminations about repair or retaliation, and, at worst, intense states of depression, anxiety, or possible self-harm. This is especially challenging for those who have also endured a childhood and long-standing history fraught with experiences of loss, neglect, or abuse, as well as feeling unlovable, undesirable, or just not good enough. The coping styles, often constructed early in our development when critical emotional needs are unmet, along with our biological makeup, can become embedded in our brain's survival system, acting as automatic navigators when faced with a perceived threat. Under certain conditions, like being cast aside by a partner, those once-upon-a-time intolerable feelings of loneliness, shame, inadequacy, abandonment, rejection, or mistrust can get triggered. This can result in the rapid activation of coping styles that, although perhaps somewhat helpful in early life, are now ironically self-defeating and even perpetuate further feelings of painful despair, as you will see so thoughtfully portrayed in this beautiful book written by Michelle Skeen. In my work treating narcissists, it is not uncommon for me to meet the narcissist's partner, the offended other, who, in addition to being made to feel inferior and unlovable, is continuously threatened with losing the, albeit sometimes charming, overpowering, and devaluing offender. If she, in this case, has also been plagued with early experiences of mistreatment by her caregivers or abandonment, the anticipation of a loss of this magnitude in her grown-up life might carry forth a more than reasonable degree of dread and sorrow linked to feelings and beliefs such as, "It's devastating. It just reinforces the rightness of my critical mother, who all my life reminded me that nothing I did was ever good enough. Maybe I deserve it, all that teasing and bullying I endured from my siblings or peers, because I was inhibited, or because I was smart, or because I wore glasses. Maybe this is just the true story of my life." She says this with a tear-stained face and shattered heart. I am absolutely delighted that my dear friend and colleague, Dr. Michelle Skeen, has written this outstandingly important body of work. Michelle has been a keen and enthusiastic schema therapy practitioner and educator, and now, with her elegant style and clear, accessible exercises, she brings illumination to this subject for so many who know the unfortunate experience of abandonment and the burdens of perceived loss. Dr. Skeen has devoted many years to her clinical expertise in relationship issues. With the schema therapy approach, an evidence-based treatment model, she offers the listener a thoughtful, unequivocally instrumental guide for engaging healing, effective strategies that can lead to changing automatic and destructively biased life patterns. In a masterful voice, the author describes how to apply the skill of mindful awareness for pattern identification, along with experiential techniques for forging a compassionate bond with the inner struggle of vulnerable parts of the self. Dr. Skeen delves into the cognitive and behavioral strategies for unburdening the heart and adapting the biases of thought, emotion, and action. You will surely resonate with the case examples and vignettes offered, including the unique and commonly shared burdens of dealing with inner messages of shame, mistrust, inadequacy, and, most especially, abandonment. It is with pleasure that I confidently recommend Love Me, Don't Leave Me to anyone who is struggling with not only the dreaded and fearful anticipation of being abandoned by a partner or coping in the aftermath of loss, but also for those of you who may have misplaced along the way or have not yet been rightfully awarded your most powerful comrade and unparalleled truth-teller, the healthy voice of you. Wendy T. Bahari, LCSW, President, International Society of Schema Therapy, ISST, author, Disarming the Narcissist, 2013. Introduction. Do you struggle with a fear of abandonment? You may be profoundly aware of it, or you may have a nagging feeling that it's impacting your relationships and your life. Let's look at some of the ways that fear of abandonment can create a barrier to lasting and loving relationships. Do you feel like you have to be perfect, or you will be rejected? Do you tolerate criticism or other emotional abuse to avoid being alone? Do you hide your true self because you feel that you will be found not good enough? Do you panic when you don't receive an immediate response to a text, email, or voicemail? Do you become clingy or demanding when you feel someone pulling away? Or do you leave before you can be left? Do you try to avoid your profound fear of abandonment by focusing on work or numbing out with food, alcohol, or drugs? Do others' explained or unexplained absences send you into a tailspin? Do you stay in unhealthy relationships because it's better than being alone? Or do you avoid relationships because you fear the ultimate outcome? You will be left? These thoughts and fears can trigger powerful and painful emotions: shame, sadness, loneliness, longing, anger, and anxiety. These emotions can feel intolerable, and the desire to get rid of them or minimize them can cause you to behave in ways that may have worked in the past. Now, as you assess the relationships in your life, you may have the realization that your behaviors aren't working anymore. You know this because you don't have the relationship that you want. At the same time, the goal of having a healthy, lasting, and loving relationship may feel out of reach to you, or you may feel that it's going to require too much work and you don't have the time or energy. I understand. It's normal to feel that it's easier to lower expectations and hope rather than increase drive and determination, especially in matters of the heart, where we have a constant fear of being hurt or disappointed. You may be asking yourself if it's worth it to risk making yourself vulnerable to the possibility of more emotional pain when you feel like you've experienced enough for a lifetime. We all know the pain of being in a relationship that leaves us feeling sad, lonely, misunderstood, unlovable, unsafe, and longing for more, but not necessarily believing that we deserve more. Many of us don't know what it's like to be in a healthy relationship that makes us feel loved, worthy, understood, valued, respected, and appreciated for who we are, flaws and all. What if you could put your fears and your beliefs about yourself, others, and your relationships in a new context that would get you distance from your past and allow you to build lasting and loving relationships? What if you could learn new ways to deal with painful emotions and negative thoughts? What if you could make behavioral choices that would get you closer to having that healthy relationship that you long for, but fear you might never have? About this book. This book is designed to help you understand and accept that you are not to blame. Your fears and your beliefs about yourself, others, and your world are all the result of your childhood and adolescent experiences. And all of those experiences are part of your story, including the painful ones and the messages they gave you. You may be feeling anxious or scared when you think about focusing on painful past events. While our past is always with us in some form, whether it's lurking in the shadows or out in the sunlight, it's important that we put it in the proper perspective. One of the goals of this book is to help you create a new relationship with these events, your story, and everything that accompanies it, your thoughts, emotions, and behavioral reactions. Consciously or unconsciously, your relationship with your story is getting in the way of the connection that you long for with another person. The ultimate goal of this book is to get you to a place where you can be present in a relationship without being controlled by your fears. Let me explain how this journey will get you to that place. In Chapter 1, we'll take a close look at fear of abandonment. You probably know that you have it, but this chapter will bring all of the aspects of this hardwired, biologically driven fear to awareness. I will also introduce and explain 4 additional deeply held beliefs, referred to as core beliefs, that are often closely linked to the fear of abandonment: mistrust and abuse, emotional deprivation, defectiveness, and failure. These core beliefs are brought to life through stories in this chapter and throughout the book. In Chapter 2, you will take 5 short assessments to identify and look more closely at the common beliefs that are associated with each of the 5 core beliefs. In Chapter 3, you will be led through an explanation and examination of common traps, mind, behavioral, and relationship, that are likely creating additional pain for you. The first 3 chapters will bring awareness to your story, including your beliefs and behavioral reactions to situations that trigger your core beliefs. In Chapters 4 through 8, you will be introduced to concepts and led through exercises that will help you develop skills necessary to distance yourself from your story. This includes mindfulness, letting go of what you can't change, identifying and committing to the values that will enrich your life, and gaining a deeper understanding of your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, including developing new ways to view and interact with them. Chapter 9 introduces communication skills that are essential components for developing and maintaining healthy and lasting relationships. The final chapter is designed to help you navigate the challenging aspects of dating, including warning signs to look out for in a potential partner. I have carefully and thoughtfully designed this journey to be compassionate, loving, and challenging. I understand your pain. Many of my experiences are woven into the stories in this book. I have been on this journey, and I can assure you that the emotional discomfort that you may periodically experience as you do these challenging exercises is worth the payoff. Healthy, lasting, and loving relationships. We all experience pain. Unfortunately, it is part of the human condition. I want to help you eliminate your suffering, the pain that we knowingly or unknowingly create when we struggle to manage the pain that we can't avoid. The process involves awareness and change. My hope is that this journey will enable you to develop a loving relationship with yourself and shed the cloak of shame that can keep you stuck in a past that is controlling your present. This journey requires work. At times, it will feel challenging, especially when you are asked to examine unhealthy thoughts, behaviors, and emotions. The exercises contained in this book are designed to help you get closer to the healthy relationships that you desire. You will need to keep a journal to complete the exercises and track your progress. There are 3 options available to you. 1. Purchase a journal or notebook. 2. Access the online journal on my website, www.michelleskeen.com, or an online journal from another site. Or 3. Download the PDFs that are provided for each of the exercises, found at www.lovemedon'tleaveme.com, and keep them in a notebook or binder. The act of writing helps you stay focused, and having the information in one place allows you the opportunity to notice behavioral patterns, reflect on your values and experiences, and chart your progress. You may go through periods when you feel stuck or challenged. These are the times when it's helpful to have a record of your journey, so you can look back at what you've written and celebrate the progress that you've made. I wear a bracelet that reads, "It matters not what road you take, but what you become on the journey." Let's begin the journey. Chapter 1. Don't Leave Me. Understanding Your Fear of Abandonment. Our childhood experiences create our story, and that story resonates throughout our lives. You are probably listening to this book because your story, in part, contains an abandonment experience. Someone important to you, your mom, dad, step-parent, caregiver, sibling, peer, may have been away frequently or for long periods of time, been with you inconsistently or unpredictably, loved you conditionally, was disconnected, left you alone, moved away, or died. You may have grown up in foster homes, had a parent or parents who were addicted to alcohol and/or drugs, or had a caregiver who struggled with a mental disorder, was unpredictable, or was simply ill-equipped to handle raising a child. Perhaps your parents divorced, or maybe you were overprotected. Whatever your childhood environment or experience, any one of these scenarios, and more, could leave you feeling disconnected, alone, abandoned. As newborns and children, our survival depends upon being connected. We were dependent on a caregiver to provide safety, security, and protection. Fear over the loss of this connection is a healthy, human survival response. If a fear of abandonment is part of your story, then it's likely that you feel trapped by your fear and the accompanying thoughts and emotions. You may also feel trapped by your behavioral reaction cycle, the automatic behaviors that you engage in when you're dealing with the negative thoughts and emotions that your fear of abandonment triggers. You may find yourself drawn to similar relationship dynamics and environments that you experienced as a child. Are you attracted to people who are rejecting, critical, inconsistent, abusive, unpredictable, distant, indifferent, chaotic, or ambivalent, even though they make you feel bad about yourself? When you are faced with a stressful situation, do you become clingy, compliant, angry, manipulative, blaming, demanding, critical, or controlling? Or do you withdraw, isolate, pout, numb out, e.g. with drugs, alcohol, food, distract yourself, e.g. shopping, sex, risk-taking, gambling, or dissociate? Your core beliefs have you trapped in emotions, thoughts, and behaviors that are hurtful, and they are denying you the happiness and healthy, loving relationships that you desire and deserve. What if you could take a journey that would give you the tools to step out of your story, take the power and control away from your story, understand your fear of abandonment and other core beliefs, bring awareness to the situations and relationships that trigger your core beliefs, learn how to observe your negative thoughts without judgment or control, and develop the ability to experience your negative emotions without acting on behavioral urges? What if you could identify your values and use them as motivation for new, helpful behavior, develop new communication skills and tools, and change your outlook about yourself and others? What if you could have healthy, lasting, and loving relationships? I invite you to take this journey of self-awareness, self-knowledge, self-discovery, and self-love with me as your guide. I vow to give you a gentle push when you need it, as well as the compassion and understanding that you deserve. Setting the stage for fear of abandonment. The stage was set for your fear of abandonment by factors outside of your control. The story about your fear of abandonment and additional core beliefs is the result of factors that were present at your birth, temperament, and factors that were present in your environment. These are conditions that you couldn't control as a child. Now, you probably feel that the beliefs that formed as a result of these factors are controlling you. More than likely, you experience negative emotions when there is a threat of someone leaving you or of you being alone. This might include anger towards someone who is unavailable, sadness when someone you care about goes away, shame when you are made to feel needy, anxiety when you face uncertainty, and fear that if you connect with someone, you will ultimately be left. You may wonder why you feel this way. Your feelings can largely be attributed to nature and nurture. When looking at the development of your fear of abandonment, it helps to look at nature versus nurture in the context of attachment style. Nurture, i.e., your relationship with your environment, which includes your primary caregiver, and temperament, nature, i.e., how you show up at birth. For a more detailed explanation of attachment styles, refer to the appendix. The link between fear of abandonment and early attachment is powerful, but it is possible that even a securely attached child can develop a fear of abandonment core belief or any of the additional core beliefs: mistrust and abuse, emotional deprivation, defectiveness, and failure, discussed in this book. This can be explained by the child's temperament, a fit of family issue, feeling different from the other members in your family, or a trauma that occurred later in childhood or adolescence. This could include a rupture in the relationship with the primary caregiver, such as death, divorce, or the introduction of another primary caregiver who provided a less emotionally or physically safe and secure experience. Basic safety is a key component for the development of a secure attachment for anyone at any age, which is why the fear of abandonment is so incredibly powerful. It begins as a life or death need. As an infant, if you are left, abandoned, you will not survive. Your life, your survival, depends upon another person. To feel anxious and insecure about your primary relationship is frightening. This fear eclipses everything in your life. If you are focused on your survival, you probably don't have the capacity to focus on other things, and you certainly don't have the luxury of responding to stressful situations with an ability to manage your impulses and desires. Every stressful situation is a life-threatening crisis to the insecurely attached child. There isn't time to weigh thoughtful options to cultivate a response. You must react quickly and automatically. We are biologically driven to respond to threats by fight, flight, or freeze in order to avoid death. I'll discuss this further in Chapter 3. For now, let's look at temperament as a contributing factor. Temperament. Temperament is an important factor in determining how you will experience others and the world around you. Your genetic makeup may increase your risk for generalized anxiety disorder, depression, panic attacks, or social anxiety, and it may increase the likelihood that you may struggle with borderline personality disorder, BPD. Often, it is the perfect storm of biological and environmental factors that contribute to BPD. Individuals who struggle with BPD tend to be more tuned in to sensory stimuli in their environment. No doubt, their sensitivity to the environment, coupled with an unsafe environment, e.g. abandonment in childhood or adolescence, disrupted family life, poor communication in the family, or sexual abuse, including an insecure attachment, can result in BPD. 1 in 20 to 25 individuals fits this classification. Duckworth and Friedman, 2012. Or you may identify with author Dr. Elaine Aron's definition of a highly sensitive person, HSP. She states that approximately 15 to 20% of the population has the trait. Aron, 1999 through 2013. Someone with this trait is acutely aware of the subtleties in his or her surroundings, which can be an asset. The flip side is that an HSP is more easily overwhelmed, which may cause him or her to react emotionally more easily and intensely than those who aren't highly sensitive. You may have a biological predisposition or temperament that makes you emotionally vulnerable. However, it's likely that you struggle with fear of abandonment without an additional diagnosis, even though you may experience feelings of anxiety, depression, and panic when your fear of abandonment gets triggered. Now let's look at the origins and definitions of our core beliefs. Understanding core beliefs. Your infant, childhood, and adolescent experiences imprint and create schemas. A schema, or core belief, which is how I refer to them in this book, is a framework that helps organize and make sense of information and the things around us. We all have core beliefs. We carry them into adulthood, and they guide our beliefs about ourselves, others, and the world. They are a time saver because they assist us in assessing a situation. Unfortunately, as with most things that are hardwired, there is always the possibility that they can short-circuit. Here is where it can go wrong. Our core beliefs are meant to protect us by predicting present and future experiences based upon past experiences. But if your childhood experiences were toxic, then your perception of the present and future will reflect that. In this case, your core beliefs are basically negative ideas that you form about yourself and other people based on how you were treated growing up and the messages that you received. These negative ideas are painful and pack a big emotional wallop every time they get triggered. Core beliefs, by their very nature, are dichotomous, black and white, negative and positive. This makes it easy to categorize experiences. This was good, this was bad. The more frequent an experience, the less time you need to process before your automatic thoughts, emotions, and behaviors kick in. More about this in Chapter 3. Our core beliefs serve as a predictor, even in the absence of all of the information. This might mean that you are jumping to conclusions about a person or situation because you have an expectation about what that person will do or how the situation will end. For example, if you are with someone who appears bored or distracted, you might conclude that it is only a matter of time before he or she leaves you. Jeffrey Young, Ph.D., 2003, elaborated on the schema construct when he developed the concept of early maladaptive schemas, EMS. This is a subset of 18 schemas that form as a result of unmet core needs in childhood and adolescence, or of toxic childhood experiences. In Schema Therapy, a Practitioner's Guide, Young identifies an early maladaptive schema as a broad, pervasive theme or pattern comprised of memories, emotions, cognitions, and bodily sensations regarding oneself and one's relationship with others, developed during childhood or adolescence, elaborated throughout one's lifetime, and dysfunctional to a significant degree. Another way to think about how your core beliefs influence your behavior is to think about your life experiences as a story. Your story contains a monologue that plays out in your mind, interpreting experiences, making judgments about others, and predicting outcomes. This is meant to assist you in protecting yourself from danger. The problem arises when you have a negative belief about yourself.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?